This is the first workbook that you will be presented with on opening Excel. Contains the standard setup as far as the Office suite of programs are concerned along the top here, and also some toolbars that we will explore now. The first section, File, Open, we also open this further by clicking down on the bottom part of the window, and you can see this opens up various possibilities. We'll probably use the Open, Save As and Print sections fairly regularly. On the next one, I use Fill quite a lot, and also Cut and Paste. The View section just gives you a couple of views, normal or page break view, and you can play around with the toolbars in this window as well. Insert basically does exactly what you wanted to do: insert cells, rows, columns, even worksheets, and also functions. You can format cells or groups of cells or lines or rows or columns to any degree that you want. I'll talk about that later on. And the tools, the interesting part there is the bottom item, all options, which further opens up to give you more options of how to save your work, and also to give other options as far as use of fonts and such like. Data, I use Sort quite a lot. That gives you options of playing around with the data that's in your tables. And Window will have a situation where you can have more than one window open at a time, and you can work between each window. If we go back and look at the toolbar here, I have set my default worksheet up with Comic Sans 11 as my font, and I tend to use that a lot, including Word as well. This also gives you the option of changing the size of the fonts to give emphasis on a particular item, and you can make it bold, italic, and underline it, and you can set it alignments as well. The other toolbars I use a lot are the Auto Sum, the Redo and Undo parts of that, and also the percentage zoom on the worksheet. This is quite useful if you're dealing with a large complicated worksheet, and you can reduce the size of the cells in order to see the whole worksheet. Right, let's have a look at some of the items here. The first cell is always known as A1, and it appears in the cell box above it. If you go to any other cell on the worksheet, you will see that E11 highlights and the column E and the line 11 also is set up for you. Excel's got some 65,000. If I press end and down, you'll see that you've got 65,536 lines or rows, and if we go up to the top and go along to the end this way, you'll see that that is IV, and that's 256 columns. How did I know it's 256? I used a thing called Fill. If you go into Edit and you look here, you can see Fill. We will just set up a fill here. I always start off with the first two columns, so let's call that 1 and 2. And now I'm going to highlight the whole row, and then I say Edit and Fill and Series and Autofill, and that will take me, if I go along to the end again, there are 256 columns set up there. To delete that particular row, all I do is I click on it, highlight it, right click, and I say delete. That takes out all of the items in that particular row and take me back home again to A1. Okay, let's look at the next part of this section, and I will use an example of recording petrol consumption for a car. I've taken details from my vehicle itself, and I start off with sheet number 1, where I've done some pre-saved information. If you look at the top of the screen, you'll see Microsoft Excel, and I've put in a descriptive file name. And I've started off with the date. This would then give me an indication where to find it, but also I can file it in a particular area. But then we've got an item which here it says file open, and it will save all of the last. You can make it up to 9 different files. So that's my file. I'll go to sheet number 2, where I've pre-populated some of the headings. Again, by a matter of good practice, I've put the name of the file on the top line. That helps me if I'm going to print this item, and let's say I've got several hundred files that I'm looking for. If I use the paper copy, I can immediately go to this particular file name and I can pull that out. So here we've got the date of the petrol purchase, where I got it from, number of litres, the amount in total. That then gives us an opportunity to work out the rands per litre, although that might be on the petrol slip. The kilometres with a full tank, the rate per 100 litres, the kilometres per 100 litres, and the particular trip between filling up the vehicle. Let's go to sheet number 3, where I've now put in some information from, I don't know what date, it could be over several months or several weeks or several days, but you can see I brought it in from another sheet where I've been recording this for several years. This is just a little section of it. Here you can see that by copying it into this format, for instance, the date is too large to go into that particular column. So the column has given me a whole set of hash icons just to tell me that it needs to be changed. Also, BP Broadacres is the name of the petrol station, but it's been foreshortened. So there's several things that we need to do to change the width of these columns to make it more readable. We could do it several ways. I'll show you one way would be to put the cursor on the lines between the A column and the B column. It then becomes a double headed arrow, and I can hold the left click on the mouse down, and I can pull it across, and they'll open up the width of the column. Let's go back and start again. Same thing with this column. I can make it larger. Oh, sorry, not this one. This one here. I can make it larger, and it will take the whole of Broadacres in there. The other alternative is to sort out all of the columns in one click. And that's what we do. We click on that item right in the top left hand corner of the grid, and it now highlights the whole of the grid. I then go to Format and go to Column, and you will see an item which says Auto Fit Selection. If I select that, it will auto fit all of those columns to the correct width, and here you go. The first column here has taken the width of the header and made it probably much wider than what we need, but all the others are now comfortably, and readability is much improved from the previous section. Let's just click outside of the matrix, and that now takes the selection tool away. Let me just resize the column there. Okay, you can see that the purchases have gone in. We can do several things with this information. At the moment, I've only got one item in this particular column, and if I click on it, it will now open up a little formula box at the top here on what they call formula bar, and it says that column C4, or cell C4, which is this one here, divided by, that's the sign there, H4, which is the trip kilometers. So it's the number of kilometers divided by the total trip kilometers, and then it's multiplied by 100, because we're looking at the rate per 100 liters, and that's a commonly used formula for the industry. That's come out at 13.02, and now if I copy this down, it'll give me the details for each of these particular trips. So I now right click, and it says I can copy, and now I open up with my left click the rest of the particular cells. I right click again, and I say paste. Now you see where I kept the cursor was within this blue area. If I say paste, it pastes now all of the cells, and it does all of the calculations within these cells. Because it's got now a formula in this section, I can, for instance, if I change 334 and made it 444, automatically you would see a reduction in the particular consumption of that trip. So you can see it's very user friendly, and you can now copy the information from this last bar in the same way, carrying on down the columns, or you can, as you put the next item for another purchase of petrol, you can just copy that one cell into the next cell. So that gives you a pretty simple idea of how to do the particular formulas, and using making the actual sheet readable. That's all for the moment.